Hello, Sammy.
Hi, Juliet.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, here we are again.
Yes.
And I remember we've talked about trust a couple of times, and there's so much in that. And it actually just reminded me that when you were talking about your talk last night, it might be quite interesting to pick up from there in terms of some of the conversations you were having, because I think it probably connects into a deepening of the topic of trust. So
Yeah.
do you want to start the timer and maybe share a little bit
Yeah.
about what you were doing last night?
Absolutely. Oh, hold on. Yep, no, it's good. Sorry, I'm going to set the timer. Should have done that off screen. There we go. You live and learn. So away we go. So last night I gave a talk, and it was a really small, intimate group, which is very lovely. I find it hard with the in-between size, but when you've got a small one, you can just get into conversation. When you've got a big one, you can facilitate it. And so the benefit of last night was being able to invite people to share kind of what had piqued their interest about the talk, why they'd come out on a rainy February evening, which then allowed me to cater kind of what we were talking about to really personally to what they were arriving with. And one woman talked about vulnerability. And so she started talking about how she finds it difficult to sort of be friends with people she works with. But interestingly, when she leaves a workplace, she can be friends with those people afterwards. But she doesn't feel she can really be herself or be vulnerable with people while she's working with them, which was fascinating. And this was in a room full of people she'd never met. So I pointed out to her, this beautiful irony that she'd just been really vulnerable with a group of strangers. And she said, yeah, but there's no risk here. Like she said, without being rude, I may never see any of you again, and that's okay. But had I come tonight with someone from work, I definitely wouldn't have said any of that. And it was really interesting, and it really spoke to a lot of things that I've experienced of feeling like I need to wear a mask and be something different at work. And so we were just chatting about that, weren't we? And what does that little snippet bring up for you around vulnerability on work?
The first thing is just like quite a visceral reaction at the lost potential when we create organizations where people feel they have to wear a mask and hide themselves out of some sort of fear. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm imagining it's like a fear of being judged, a fear of people having power over you, and the security of your job. And you've got to feed the family and the kids. Maybe it's a deep need for safety, I suspect. But I'm obviously making assumptions for this person.
Yeah.
But I think
For me at times, oh,
yeah,
sorry,
no,
I
go
was just going
on.
to add to that. So for me at times, sometimes it was about not feeling like a leader or a manager, but wanting to be treated like one. And so creating some distance in that way. And I noticed it as well when I was in an organization when I was pregnant. I almost didn't want to acknowledge I was pregnant because I felt like it allowed people into my personal life in a way that gave them access to something that potentially could be soft about me, or vulnerable. I remember people coming up to me and saying, "How's it going?" And they were obviously asking about the pregnancy, and I would respond with, "Yeah, fine. How are you?" Like I didn't even know what they were talking about. It was
Yeah.
such a defense mechanism, and
Yeah.
it is really sad.
Yes. And what's the fear beneath that? Why were you triggering that defense mechanism?
Oh gosh, I think in some ways it was probably not being sure what I was supposed to be anyway. Like not really feeling, probably feeling immature, and so trying to present myself as being sturdy and solid and certain. That's the traits I think I thought that I should have in that position in that organization. The leaders there were always very certain
Okay.
about things, and there was an air of hierarchy and authority. And so I sort of moved. I went there and started to emulate that. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Even dress code wise, I dressed differently when I worked there.
Mm. That's so interesting, isn't it? That's how the kind of culture there is then affecting how you show up. And
Mm,
but yeah, I mean, back to the point of possibility, the lack of possibility,
yeah.
because you're putting constraints around who you are and how you interact with others. Is that
Mm,
an environment where you can be creative or innovative or share a new idea or ask a challenging question?
yeah.
So many organizations want their people to, um, you know, be high support, high challenge for high
Yeah.
performance. And yet, do we create the conditions for it? Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it's such high risk, isn't it? What's it felt like for you when you've been in house? Have you noticed
And
similar?
showing myself.
Yeah.
I was so
Or
lucky.
restraining yourself?
Yeah, my first, I don't think I've really felt that. The first organization I worked in
Okay.
for 10 years, I had an amazing manager, and he was a really respected leader in the organization. And I felt I could totally be myself with him and be vulnerable. But I did feel judged by the other men, mainly in the
Did
organization.
you?
So I did sometimes feel I had to prove my capability, or assumed they
Mm,
thought I had little capability. So it would have affected me. It would have meant I was wearing a mask, but I felt like I had that kind of safe home to come back to in the team.
yeah. Someone's got your back.
Um, so yeah, it's just incredible how it can distort our behaviour. Can we really show what we're capable of and contribute fully to what the organisation is doing if we're constantly
Yeah.
gauging risk and vulnerability?
There was another story maybe this is more storytelling, but another story comes to mind. When I was in that organization that I'm describing, a guy joined who I think probably was a very good salesperson, relational salesperson, but he joined with a more strategic role, and was out of his depth. And we would often be in quite senior meetings around a project that the two of us were both working on. He was supposed to be leading, and you could see he was missing the mark with the MD and the other directors. He was misunderstanding what they wanted, or he was misunderstanding what he was bringing. And quite a few times, I really tried to support him. And we'd come out of those meetings, and I'd be like, "Do you want to? Should we just have a coffee and just talk about?" Because I really had the sense that he'd misunderstood something, or that he was misfiring somewhere. And his inability to accept that support was really interesting. Even I wasn't senior to him, we were peers. I wasn't reporting back to anyone about him. There's none of that. I was just trying to support him to actually present himself better to the directors that we were working with, and he just couldn't accept the support at all. He
Mm,
was very defensive, and we would go into meeting after meeting where he would just present himself really poorly, and just couldn't seem to
yeah,
acknowledge that he needed help in it,
but
which
it's
was
not.
really sad.
Yeah, it's sad. It's lonely,
Oh,
and
the alarm's going off.
oh gosh.
I know that was quick, but go on, carry on. What were you saying?
Well, it just feels like an unavoidable outcome of setting up organisations that focus on individual performance, because it's
Yeah,
the opposite of a team if you think about it. So if I'm feeling vulnerable, I'm misfiring, I can tell it's not going well, and I'm being
mm,
judged and assessed as an individual on my contribution, I'm not going to
yeah,
accept help from you because it will be a sign of weakness and a lack of
yes,
competence. So it just shows the importance of to what extent in our businesses do we recognize and reward team contribution, because that then
yeah,
allows
nice,
somebody to accept support and be at their best.
yeah, yeah. I think very often it's just the word vulnerability that people feel uncomfortable around.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time we could talk about how we help people ease into that and make friends with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, nice. Yeah, how do you make friends with vulnerability? That's nice.
Mm.
Lovely. This has been a bit
Mm.
of a ramble chat, but hopefully nice and hopefully useful for people. And perhaps next time we'll, like you say, land a bit more of the how, so that we can go from maybe people feeling recognised and heard in this conversation to so what might be useful about that.
Yeah, I think we've done the why, haven't we? Why is it important?
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be really good. Great.
Lovely.
Thanks,
Right, well, we'll do
Sammy.
that. Thanks, Juliet. Speak to you
See you
soon.
later. Bye.
Bye.